Okay, great. Welcome everybody. As Maddie said, I am an account manager here at Conscious. So yeah, ultimately today we are going to talk a little bit about how to use your website as a recruitment tool. So this is questions that comes up time and time again in review calls I have with many of our clients here at Conscious. So to start with, we are going to talk about using your website as a recruitment tool and show you some examples. Then we're going to go into using social media as a recruitment tool with some examples. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how you can utilize job boards, then go through some other tips, then some key takeaways, and then we'll take any questions. Of course, if you've got any questions, in the meantime, I know that Laura and Maddie are both managing the chat, so feel free to pop some in there as well. Okay, so ultimately, let's start with your website. So let's start with the basics. To start with, you need to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. You need to make sure that it's passing Core Web Vitals. You need to make sure that it's got a clean design, it's optimized regularly, and also that you're updating your content regularly. Now, your website is kind of the first place a candidate will go if they see a job advert. The website's probably the first place they're going to go to have a look. So it must showcase the firm and the culture, and your website must not only attract customers, but also it's got to attract top candidates. So one thing that we would definitely recommend that you have on the website is a careers page. So this is a central place where candidates can go and find out all about the firm. So make sure that this is really highlighted on the website and it's not hidden away. So when I say hidden away, we don't just want to put it in the footer out of the way. We want to make sure you can find it easily in the navigation. We don't want this to be an afterthought. So this needs to kind of capture and hold the candidate's interest. So this is more than just a long list of job vacancies. You need your company to stand out. It needs to share a story of who you are and ultimately why someone should come and work for you. So what is different to you than to your competitor down the road or even next door? It's very much the employee interviewing you as well. So we want to be shouting and screaming about all the benefits that you've got. So maybe that you provide flexible working, maybe that, that your solicitors can work from home. Maybe you've got a cycle to work scheme. Maybe you provide breakfast. Maybe it's health insurance. There's all these different benefits that you might have that you want to be putting on this page. So here also, I would talk about what training you offer. Is this training paid for? For example, at Conscious, we have a £500 training budget that we get to use every year. So that's something you should be talking about. Then another thing here, you can see here, there's a firm here on the left-hand side that have got some stats about good reasons why to work at the firm. So here, these are stats that kind of might say 55% of the workforce has been there for more than 5 years. You've got a ratio of female partners, all these different kind of stats that, will help make it look like somewhere that you'd want to go and work. Make all these benefits clear, and also don't be writing things that clearly the company is not. You don't want to be doing that either. So, and also another thing to do on this page is use real people in the firm. You can see here that there's a firm that we've got a screenshot of a firm down below here that have used real people in the firm giving testimonials of what it's like to work at the firm. It's quite easy to do that. Just grab an iPhone, or an Android and take a video on landscape in a room, make sure the sound's okay. And you can achieve quite a good video that way. The other thing is to make sure to add kind of FAQs on the page, so what it's like to work there. This makes it easier for candidates to see different things and get a feel for the firm. Also, another thing is, don't just have a careers page. Make sure that you're talking about the careers page on other parts of the website and linking back to the careers page as well. Another point to make as well is also, again, if your website isn't mobile friendly, you're missing out on quite a high market of candidates. So, I think like 80% of kind of millennials are applying via their phones as well now. So this page ultimately is going to be a great tool when it comes to recruiting. So make sure that you've got one and that you're using it. The next thing that you should make sure you've got is an About Us page. So often this is somewhere that a candidate will come to find out more about the firm. What is the firm known for? Are you a stable business? If you're CSR, is there any alumni? Could you get some stats potentially from people that used to work for you? On our Conscious Careers page, we've got, some people that used to work for us 5 years ago. How long has the firm been established for? Do you do any community employment? Are you B Corp? All those different things you can, put on your About Us page. So this page is kind of, is good for ultimately not only telling your potential clients, but also potential employees about you. The next thing that we would recommend to have on the website would be some really good staff profile pages. This might sound really easy, and I'm sure a lot of you have got staff profiles already, but you want to put everybody on the website. Make sure that your support staff are on there as well. That's going to make a potential candidate think that it's really great to work there. They respect everybody that works in the firm, and ultimately the support staff are probably somebody that the candidate is probably going to interact with on one of the first instances in their application. So make sure you've got good bios. There's pictures of potentially maybe hobbies. It kind of also, a candidate can go and look at the person that's hiring them before their interview and get different facts about them. For example, RMD has that he likes eclairs on his profile. A few years ago, we had one lady that rocked up with eclairs to the interview. So that kind of really showed that she'd taken an interest, read the profiles, and and that kind of really impressed her, and she did get the job. So all those different kind of points are really useful. And also another thing you could add on staff profiles, say for example, we've got an example of Sarah here. Say Sarah is recruiting. Have something on her profile that says she's recruiting, that she's looking for people for her team. You could have a little button here over under the review saying, Sarah's hiring, why not get in touch? That kind of thing all helps. I think also it's probably here, it's worth mentioning about kind of staff photos. Are these up to date? Does it truly represent the person that they are going to be meeting? And also, one thing we've recently here at Conscious written all of our staff. We have started writing new staff profiles, and we were provided a template from our marketing exec, which is really easy to follow, and then we sent over pictures. So that is something again that you could do to help really improve the staff profiles. Another thing you should be doing to use your website as a recruitment tool is using your blogs. So use your blog just like you would use to attract customers. Use the blog to show off the culture of the firm. Talk about staff, talk about star employees. What happens? Are you doing any charity work? How does work get done? The blog is kind of there to find out whether or not you would be the candidate would be a good fit for the company. And again, this is another really nice thing to see whether or not the candidate has done any research on the firm, and if they kind of feel that they fit within the firm. So yeah, so here you can see that we've got a firm here that's talking a little bit about the LawNet challenge that they did in aid with children with cancer. Then if you look very closely, there is a picture of me in the corner here of a charity day that we did back last year. Now, another thing you can add to your website to kind of help, to help with recruitment would be something around accreditations and referral streams. So, here we've got, do you want to earn an extra £400? This could just, help staff want to get involved with the recruitment process, and also potentially might have anybody external with bringing people in. So, and then just like you would do with trying to gain customers, you would add what we would call trust factors to the website. So this might be like, awards or accreditations. So it might be like, you're the best family lawyer of 2022. You're always showcasing that kind of stuff. Are you a living wage employee? Add that to your careers page, or accreditations in the footer. Here we've got, here at Conscious, we've got an accreditation for something called Flexer. This is something that just shows how flexible we are as a company. So yeah, all of these things are kind of show off who you are, and it's really helpful when people are making the decision of if they want to apply or not. Now, the other thing you can do is here, you could potentially make some brand changes on your website. So here you can see some examples of some people, some firms, that have got, a little speech bubble that says we're recruiting or we're hiring. Just a few slight subtle differences on the homepage is really helpful, on the round logo. And yeah, ultimately quite a good thing to add to the website if you're really going for that big recruitment drive.
You can also make those buttons clickable as well. So again, it makes it easier for somebody to get to your careers page, so they don't have to spend ages trying to figure out how to apply. It just makes the process more straightforward.
Great, thank you, Maddie. Then another thing would be making the application process really simple. So think about your website forms. Here, you don't want to make it hard for the employee to get to ultimately to apply. If I've got to fill in a 50-page questionnaire, I've got to upload my CV to somewhere that's not even on the website, I've got to do many hurdles to actually apply, that's probably going to put the candidate off. So make it simple. Have a simple form with fields that candidates can complete online. If, for example, you have a Conscious website, you can have Jobs in Law, which is our free jobs board. I'll get to jobs boards in a bit, where you can basically have that migrated onto the website and you can upload a CV pretty easily. Now, it's also making sure that you've got, it all sounds very simple stuff, but making sure that there's an email address that's easily available for them to send their CV to. And then if they do submit online on the website, it's having a thank you page so that they know their application was received. And then you could give them a timeline of when they should expect to hear from you. And also, say, for example, you're getting people to apply, but you realistically know that you're probably not getting around to it for a few months, let the candidate know. It takes time to apply for jobs, and as we all know, or if you aren't recruiting at the moment, let them know that as well. The next thing with these forms is to make sure, do some user testing on them, get some people in the firm to try to apply for a job, make sure the process works. Was this easy for me to apply? Was it easy? What did I find hard about it? And then, change it and make it an easier process for them. Now, that's kind of everything, kind of what we would suggest on the website point of view. Now, moving on to social media. Luckily, I am joined by our social media manager here at Conscious as well. So I'm going to talk through a few points and then refer to her as well. So ultimately, before you even start the hiring process, you need to make sure that you've got a really good social media presence. That's good profiles across all platforms, consistent branding that you're regularly posting, a profile that really demonstrates the culture of who you are and shows off your values. This is going to help attract more candidates. After they've been to the website, or maybe before they've been to the website, ultimately they're going to look you up. And social media is somewhere where they're going to go, especially if you're trying to attract, a Gen Z. That is probably the first place they're going to go. And this also, your social profiles are going to help a candidate see whether or not they're a good fit for the company. So they might see things that you guys are up, that the firm's up to, that they like and they want to be involved in. So that's going to help. So also another thing is what you should be doing with your socials is make your employees part of this strategy. Get them sharing the jobs, get them sharing what they like about working at the firm. All these different things are going to help. So, for example, your ideal candidate might not even be looking for a job. But if we're using social media in this way, you might, like passive job seekers, might find you and then think, oh, actually, that's a really good place to work. But funnily, I often have friends that tell me that they really want to work for Conscious because they see me sharing stuff about Conscious. For example, I was very lucky at the start of the year that I got to work from Barbados instead of from the office, and then they see me liking and sharing things of what other employees are doing. And yeah, one friend is always like, can I come work for you? I'm like, sure. So yeah, getting your staff to be sharing and doing things like that is always good. And then, make sure you're choosing the right social media profiles. So, where are the people that you want to employ? What platforms are they on? And it's reaching out to them. You can also sponsor jobs on LinkedIn, and also you can sponsor jobs on Facebook. You can do targeted job ads. That is something that we can help you here at Conscious if you ever decide to go down that route. And then I think it's important to remember to not just ramp up your promotion when you're recruiting, but to do this all the time. To be, saying how great the firm is all the time. And then I think finally on social media, remember that there is some great talent on LinkedIn. So, why not use the filters to find the right candidates? Don't be afraid to get in touch with them, send them a message. You might have even met somebody at a networking event. Why not get in touch with them? Why not send them the job posting? They might not be happy. They might want to come over and work for you instead. Don't be afraid of that. So just here's some examples of some different firms, trying to promote their jobs across social media. Like I said, we've got Laura, our social media manager here at Conscious, on the call. So Laura, do you mind just giving us, 5 best tips for what you would suggest for posting jobs on social media?
I think you're muted, Laura.
If I unmuted myself first, wouldn't it? So I think one of the most important things is to think about the hashtags you're using. Quite a lot of the time I see people post jobs with the hashtag job, which doesn't really help an awful lot for people to find it, but you'll quite often find, I know there's definitely one for Bristol, there's a local job hashtag, so hashtag Bristol jobs is a hashtag. So I imagine there will probably be similar hashtags across the country to use. So obviously that can help you kind of hone down people local to you when you're posting. And also, I think hashtag legal jobs and hashtag legal careers are hashtags as well. So I'm really thinking about the hashtags that you're using and making sure that they're actually going to be searchable. And when people look at them, you can usually tell by typing it into whichever platform you're on and then viewing the other posts that use that hashtag. So you can kind of check that they are what they say they are and the posts are all similar. And another way of checking it as well is to look at your competitors and see what hashtags they're using as well.
Or how many hashtags would you say that you need to be putting on each post?
I probably wouldn't go for too many. Generally, I go for about 3, maybe 4, because otherwise it just gets a bit too much. Using them good quality hashtags, you know, if you're only going to use one, as long as it's a good quality hashtag, it's better than using like 10. So yeah, just make sure you're kind of picking the right ones that are actually going to send people to, you know, attract people is what I meant. And then another thing is using sort of your branding across your posts when you're putting those job ads out. So using some branded graphics or even videos can really help your post stand out. So, you know, obviously today we all scroll endlessly through loads and loads of stuff in our news feeds. So having like a really brightly coloured post or video that pops out, it will kind of, it's eye-catching and it draws people in. So make sure it's not just, you know, just a text post. Make sure you've got, you know, all the branded graphics and things in there. And then another thing about captions is to make sure you put the most important information at the top of the caption. So especially if it's on a platform that's got longer forms, so like LinkedIn or Facebook, if a post needs to be expanded, generally people will only see the top part of that caption. So make sure whatever you're putting at the top of that caption is really inviting. So things like we're hiring, or we need you, or we've got exciting news, or something like that, that will make people want to click expand and find out what's happening. And I think another way you can make the text a bit more eye-catching is to sort of use emojis as well. That helps it, you know, people spot it out of a million other posts. And it also can help break up the text a little bit as well if you've got some text in there. Speaking of emojis, this one I think is something that probably not a lot of us do, but we should be doing, and this is not just in recruitment posts, but across any post, is making the post accessible. So there are a lot of people that use screen readers to assist them online. So things like having lots of emojis or lots of hashtags can actually make it a lot more difficult for people to read the post with their screen readers. So make sure you're kind of, any tags or hashtags are at the bottom of the post, so they're not in the middle, because otherwise that can be quite difficult to read sometimes. Using alt text for images. So if you've got an image of people at your firm, make sure that you're adding an alt text that explains what's happening in that image so that they know. And not adding too much text especially into images, because that can be quite hard to read for anybody really. Especially for people that are using screen readers or might be neurodiverse or something like that. And then also for things like videos, making sure you're using closed captions with subtitles, and making sure any colours you have in your graphics or videos are high contrast so that people can see them clearly. So you don't want to be using two really light colours together, because otherwise that's quite difficult to read. So making sure that you've got high contrast and it's very, very simple to read. And then again, using inclusive language and inclusive imagery as well really helps, because then, you know, you're accommodating everybody and you're accommodating everybody's accessibility needs. And that just helps cast your net wider, and, you know, you're then recruiting from a wider pool. And And then my final one really would be to use images of your office, people at work, your team having fun at an event, because as Kate said, it shows what it's like to be part of the team, and it might, people might look at that and go, oh, that's really fun to work there. And that's something, we've just had new images done for the website, and we've got a lot of those great images of us just at work in the office. And I think it's really nice for people to be able to see where they're going to be working as well as who they're going to be working with. So yeah, those really are my sort of top 5 tips for making your social posts optimize for your recruitment.
Thanks, Laura. That was really useful. We can ask if anyone's got any more questions about social. I'm sure Laura will be sticking around to answer those. So now, if we can move on to job boards. Thank you, Maddie. So job boards are definitely something that you should use for sure. Job boards attract thousands of candidates each month. Me and Maddie both found our job at Conscious through Indeed a few years ago. So a few more years ago for me than Maddie, but that's all okay. So yeah, so advertising your job online makes sense in so many aspects. Make sure that your job posting has got all the details. Have a link to that careers page that I'm on about on the job description. And job boards are there 24 hours, 7 days a week. You've got your main ones like Reed, Indeed, Glassdoor. Glassdoor is more of a kind of kind of testimonials of people that have worked there, but I believe there's also jobs on there as well. And then ultimately also as well as LinkedIn. We here at Conscious have a free jobs board. So if you're a Conscious customer, you can post your jobs on our website called Jobs in Law. If you need any more details about that or how to do it, then let us know and we can get that arranged for you. There's also a fair few specialized boards, job boards out there to choose from. There's Simply Law Jobs, Law Gazette Jobs. I believe Law Gazette Jobs sometimes has a little bit of a fee to it. There's Totally Legal. But yeah, job boards ultimately also make it easier for the employees to apply because they can register and then, apply for multiple jobs as well. So yeah, and then I know there was quite a lot of chat before the webinar on optimizing your job descriptions for SEO. This is quite a difficult one and a really hard game to play. So I wouldn't waste, if I'm honest, too much time on doing this because Google is always going to prioritize job boards over you. For example, there's Google Jobs, which is another job board I haven't mentioned, but recruitment companies are spending thousands and thousands on their SEO each month, and Google is always going to show them before they're going to show you. Their domain authority is going to be a lot higher as well than your website as well. Also, a lot of the time, the job posting isn't probably on the web page long enough to be indexed, and then we kind of get into the messy situation of that it might 404, the page might 404, and that's also not a great experience either for Google. So that, we don't want to get into that situation. So if we're trying to do this, I would just piggyback off of the job boards. They are the ones that are paying investing real big money into this. You're better off getting your job listed on those main sites. So now if we go on to some other tips. Now, this is something that I've come across quite more recently, is something called a candidate database. This one here that you can see in the screenshot is from something called Atlas, sorry, my mistake. This basically pulls data from the SRA and from LinkedIn. So I think there's around 1,500 lawyers on this database from about 15,000 law firms. So this basically makes people instantly searchable by firm type, by firm name, PQE, practice area, their specialism, the location they're in, their job title. You know, I think there is a slight yearly cost to this. But, you know, I do know a client using it and have had good success from it. You know, it might be worth booking in a demo, and ultimately this yearly cost is probably still cheaper than a recruiter, but don't let my brother hear me say that, because he is a recruitment consultant. You either love them or you hate them. So that's how it goes. Another thing which might seem a little bit odd is adding it to email signature. Now you can see here my Gardener's assistant Maddie has got in her signature, we're hiring, check out our latest jobs, and then a link to our careers page. You know, you might think, well, hold on a second, I'm not emailing potential candidates. Well, aren't you emailing every single day, you know, the competition, the other side that you're dealing with, the other firm? So, you know, when you're dealing with your case, you're obviously liaising with them. They might not be happy in their job, and they might think, oh, okay, well, I might check them out, and, you know, and they might come over to you. So, you know, it's worth a try. So now, you know, the best strategy ultimately is going to be a mixture of offline and online recruitment. So, you know, let's not forget about kind of local community events, you know, job fairs, university days. You could hold a recruitment evening. You know, fitting both of these two things in line is the best strategy to try and find the right person. And I think we also need to remember that recruitment is an all year round thing, not just when you want people. It's a constant, you know, here's the firm, this is who we are. So yeah, ultimately, you know, hopefully you can find the best candidate by putting together some offline and online marketing things.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Katie, for everything you've gone into detail on, and also Laura as well for jumping in with the social media bits. You've spoken about so much, but I was just wondering, Katie, if you could just sort of quickly sum up your key takeaways from the session, things people listening could go and get started on now.
Yeah, so I think it's just, yeah, it's probably remembering that the candidate is interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing them. So, you know, they've got to spend not 24 hours, we hope, but, you know, a lot of their time working at the firm. So, you know, you want to showcase the best of who you are. So I think it's doing that. And ultimately doing this would be having a well-detailed careers page, you know, with real people on.
Perfect. So we're going to move on to some questions now. So if anyone has had anything pop up throughout the session, please put them in the chat or come off mute and ask them. I'm just going to stop screen sharing so we can run through some of the questions that we were asked before the session started. So I'm going to go back to the SEO side of things, because we were asked a question on schema tags, and by including those, will your jobs be found on Google searches? So I've spoken to our head of SEO about this. It's not something that we use, but he did say that adding structured data makes your job postings eligible to appear in a special user experience in Google search results. And you can also integrate these to Google using third-party job sites. So I think it kind of goes back to what Katie mentioned about utilizing the job boards, because ultimately Google is going to prioritize those and they are going to appear higher up. So that's things like Indeed and Reed and Google's job posting itself. But if you do want some further information on that, I do have a link that I'll send out in our follow-up email. And if a call with our head of SEO might be helpful, then we can set that up for you. But yeah, that's about as much detail as we'll go into on the SEO side of things, because we did have a couple of other questions about SEO as well. But yeah, I think we've kind of covered that job boards are the place for that. One of the other questions we were asked was about best practice. What are others doing and finding success in? So, Katie, I don't know if you can quickly cover, what successes we've seen, and people could maybe put in the chat how they are finding recruitment at the moment and what they're seeing to be successful.
It would be good if we could hear from, I can see Silas. Silas, have you had any success on anything recently?
Actually, one of the big successes we've had is using our own networks and getting our heads of departments and fee earners within those departments to, with some trepidation and reluctance in the first instance, but to actually reach out to their networks and ask. Taking a lot of people for coffee really is what happened, and actually off the back of it, we've had 2 new good fee earners starting in our conveyancing team. One has just started, and the other one's starting in August. So 2 positions we really needed to fill, and yeah, that's really come from us reaching out and being really proactive and taking that sort of approach. We are as well looking into, well, actually in the process of redeveloping our careers pages, creating a careers hub, all the best practice you've told us to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I'll be able to give in 9 months time. I'll be able to tell you how that's all gone, and what we've seen from that. But yeah, we're trying to be as proactive as we can, really. Did
you reach out on LinkedIn? Is that what you've been using to reach out?
Yes, and I mean, a few of our guys just reached out via email.
Great.
Picked up the phone. So
yeah,
in fact, it was. I mean, we're in Gloucestershire. Gloucestershire is relatively small. There's quite a few firms, but I mean, everyone does sort of know everyone. So yeah, there was. Yeah, you get good people on the other side of a transaction, and you think,
yeah,
hey, it's worth a shot.
Absolutely. That's why I said, put it in your email signature. You never know, they might be there at the other side and think, actually, yes, I want to come work for you instead. So great. Perfect. Thank you, Silas.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll move on to another question if nobody wants to jump in on that topic. Somebody asked, what are potential candidates seeking in a new job? Money, flexibility, office culture, holidays, and how do we set that out in a website? They also said, just reviewed your website. It looks fresh and funky, which is always nice to hear. Fresh
and funky.
But yeah, Katie, what do you suggest? How do they show that on their website?
Well, I think it's mainly all the things we've just covered, isn't it? It's having that really nice careers page and not just, and then putting it on your socials as well. You can make some nice infographics, I think on a careers page, it's just not the listings, is it? It's all those other elements that are on there. And I think some videos is probably quite good. But yeah, so yeah, all the things we've covered is probably where we would go on that one.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully that's a couple of ideas for people's to-do lists. Somebody asked, what is Flexa? That's one of the accreditations that we have.
Yeah, so Flexa is I think they were developed in about 2020, I think, in lockdown. But ultimately, you send out a staff survey to all your employees. And I think you need like an 80% opt-in rate or something. And then there's kind of like questions about kind of, what it like, are you allowed to work from home? What time do you need to be in the office? Are you allowed to have dogs? And I think you have to like rate, you have to rate it on like a scale, and then ultimately you get a score at the end, and our score came out yesterday, I think. So I think we're like 86%, 87, even better. Great. So yeah, and that's just another accreditation that you can add to your careers page or to the main website, really.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a law or legal equivalent, but our office administrator did actually find her job role through the Flexa careers page. So if there is a equivalent, it would be a good idea to get your jobs out on there as well, because competitors are probably doing it if it's something that's available.
Yeah, I saw when I was just scrolling through Facebook one evening, a Flex ad popped up for me, and you can actually click through and it takes you through the top locations. And obviously I came across Conscious when I did that. So yeah, they can actually scroll through all of the Flexa list as well.
Yeah, and I think Flexa does have a couple of law firms on there as well. So if you do believe that your company is flexible and could score well on that, it might be something you could look into. I think, again, there is a small fee associated with it, but it could be worthwhile in the end. Laura, we're going to come to you next. Somebody has asked which social media platforms are the best for recruiting for lawyers.
Don't necessarily think there is a best one. I think they're all good in their own way. Obviously LinkedIn was kind of made for that purpose almost, because that's the only platform you've got your CV there. But I think it's probably worth thinking about who you're looking to hire, so what job you're hiring for. So this is probably quite a generalized view of it, but I think if you're looking to recruit for kind of an entry-level job, the likelihood is the majority of your candidates are going to be sort of on the younger side. And so it might be worth thinking about what platform are they likely to be on. So it might be that Instagram is probably, Instagram stories or something might be a good place to pop some information about a job on there, or Twitter or something like that. And then also thinking about the kind of format of your posts as well. So some candidates might love just to read a text post with a link and it's really simple. Other people might love to watch a 5-minute video about why it's great to work for you. So I think it's definitely worth taking into account who you're talking to, like what kind of candidates are likely to apply for the jobs that you're hiring for, and then go from there. But like I said, I think all the platforms are good for recruitment in some respect. I think it just depends, like I said, on who they are and what the job is. But I think it's just as important as well to get your employees to kind of share on their own platforms your job vacancies, and also share about their experiences working for you. And then if all else fails, put a little bit of ad spend behind those job postings. Can never hurt.
Brilliant, thank you very much. I think that answers that very well. But you and Katie as well, you both mentioned video. So are we talking high quality, professionally made videos, or can they just be filmed on a phone?
Yeah, absolutely. Can just, as long as you're doing it landscape, if you've got a good enough high spec iPhone or Android phone, more than fine. Just make sure you're not in a too echoey room. But yeah, it's pretty easy. I think we all take enough videos, I think, of events and when we're out doing social stuff. I think, not to, put videographers down, but I think, you can probably get what you want out of just an iPhone for this purpose.
Yeah, I think that there is some merit to having like a professional video done, but I think it depends on if you're looking to hire, you've got lots of vacancies, it might be worth putting some money behind a professional video if you want to, but you can just as easily, with some tweaks and some very minimal equipment, set up your iPhone to film quite a professional video yourself, so long as you follow some basic rules, not filming in front of a window so no one can see your face, making sure that the sound is good, making sure that you're in a tidy room or somewhere where there's nothing offensive behind you. So I think it's you can do it absolutely yourself, but you can also consider videographers if you've got quite a lot of job listings to do. Then it might be worth putting spend on it.
Excellent. You mentioned infographics as well, Katie. Do you want to talk us through those quickly and what they can be used for?
Yeah, sure. So I think mainly infographics is probably for stats, isn't it, really? So, of different things that the firm offer. So how many staff have been there for a long period of time. I think we've got quite a nice one on ours, haven't we, of like gender female ratio as well, which is quite nice. So I think, yeah, different things like that. And I think once you've made that infographic, it can be used across different parts, you know, of your marketing strategy as well. So it can be used across socials as well. So yeah, I think we could probably, you got it. Yeah, like I'll just share my, do you want to share your screen and just show it?
Yeah.
It's quite nice.
So yeah, just a couple of things. So our gender balance, how long staff have been with us, the ages of staff, our flexer, living wage employer, and then the referrals. I think it's just showing how inclusive you are to attract all different types of people. We also have this part on our website as well, which we've had quite a few compliments on, but it's just sort of saying, don't be put off if you don't meet every single requirement. We will have a chat with you, and we'd love to see if maybe the role you're looking at isn't quite the fit. We might have something else that isn't advertised currently that you might fit instead. So I think yeah, it's just quite nice to have all of these different bits in, which makes you seem like a very inclusive, lovely place to work. Hopefully not just seem, hopefully you are. But yeah,
and if you want any good examples of careers page to go and have a look at, I would recommend Stephen Rimmer. Frettons is also another one. Yeah, so they showcase some really nice careers pages on there. And ultimately, you know, if you want to suddenly decide that you want to build a careers page, then let your account manager know, and they can help you with that, of course.
And in 6 to 9 months, we can all have a look at Silas and WSP's new
careers section
and find out how it's going. We've not had any other questions in the chat, so I'm going to stop the recording. We'll hang around.